There comes a moment in adult life when the patterns you once believed were simply part of who you are begin to reveal where they truly came from. Your reactions, your limits, your relationships, your confidence, your fears. Many of these traits were not consciously chosen. They were absorbed, formed quietly, long before you had the words to understand what was happening. This video is not about blaming your parents, nor is it about idealizing them. It is a lens, a way to examine the emotional reality of your upbringing by exploring 8 essential foundations of healthy parenting. These principles are not about perfection. They reflect what human children actually need in order to grow into adults who trust themselves and feel safe in the world. As you listen, the question is simple. Were these needs met, or were they not? Your answers will begin to outline a clearer image of your childhood, one that may validate feelings you've always carried or reveal truths you've never fully allowed yourself to name. And once those truths are seen, they can finally be understood and, when necessary, healed. Let's begin. The first principle is entering the child's world. A healthy parent does not see a child's inner experience as an inconvenience. They recognize it as a reality that deserves respect. Children do not yet have adult emotional regulation, reasoning skills, or perspective. Instead of constantly pulling the child upward into the adult world, the parent steps downward, meeting the child where they are. They lower themselves physically and emotionally, speak at eye level, soften their tone, and slow their reactions. This tells the child that their experience matters, that the world is not inherently hostile, and that they are not too much. When a parent adapts in this way, they create an environment where curiosity can grow naturally instead of defensively. When this doesn't happen, the child is expected to give what they are not yet capable of giving. Emotional overwhelm is treated as defiance. Confusion becomes disrespect. Developmental limits are framed as bad behavior. The child learns early that their natural state is unacceptable. Adults who grow up this way often carry a constant pressure to be composed, capable, and self-sufficient at all times. They may feel anxious expressing uncertainty or asking for help because, early on, those moments were met with irritation or dismissal. If your parents consistently met you at your level instead of demanding adult performance from a child, they demonstrated a foundational skill of healthy caregiving. The second principle is respecting small feelings. In childhood, emotions arrive at full volume. A broken toy can feel devastating. A new discovery can feel magical. A healthy parent doesn't mock or dismiss these reactions. They understand that emotional development begins with the small things. By taking a child's feelings seriously, the parent teaches them that emotions are signals to be understood, not weaknesses to be ashamed of. Over time, this builds emotional literacy. The child learns to recognize what they feel, express it clearly, and regulate it without fear. When parents dismiss or belittle a child's emotions, something more subtle but damaging occurs. The child learns that expressing feelings is unsafe. They may grow into adults who minimize their pain, apologize for their sadness, or hide their excitement to avoid ridicule. Some struggle to identify what they feel at all. Being told to stop crying, to toughen up, or to quit being dramatic often teaches a child to distrust their own inner experience. If your parents honored your small joys and small sorrows, they offered you one of the strongest emotional protections a child can receive. The third principle is interpreting misbehavior with empathy. Young children do not act with the complex motives adults often project onto them. A healthy parent understands that disruptive behavior usually comes from unmet needs, overstimulation, fear, or confusion. Instead of responding with punishment alone, they seek to understand what's underneath. This approach teaches the child that mistakes are not evidence of being bad, but part of learning how to navigate overwhelming situations. Discipline becomes guidance, not humiliation. When empathy is missing, parents may label the child as difficult, selfish, dramatic, irresponsible, or stubborn. These labels don't disappear. They become internalized. Adults raised under harsh interpretations often struggle with intense guilt, perfectionism, or self-blame over small mistakes. They assume that errors reveal something fundamentally wrong with them. If your parents approached your misbehavior with curiosity instead of condemnation, they protected your ability to grow without fearing your own flaws. The fourth principle is allowing healthy weirdness. A child's mind is naturally experimental. They may fixate on unusual interests, invent imaginary friends, follow strange rituals, or move through phases that seem odd to adults. A healthy parent understands these behaviors as exploration, not dysfunction. They allow the child to play with identity, imagination, and expression without rushing to correct or suppress it. This freedom teaches the child that becoming oneself is a process, not a performance, and that creativity is not something to hide. Parents who suppress this natural oddness often do so out of fear of judgment, embarrassment, or loss of control. They may push the child toward normality too early, assigning rigid roles and expectations before the child has discovered who they are. Adults raised this way often feel disconnected from their authentic selves. They may struggle to change paths, take risks, or redefine their identity because deviation once felt dangerous. If your parents allowed you to be strange without shame, they gave you the freedom to grow into someone whole rather than merely compliant. The fifth principle is accepting dependence. Dependence is not a flaw in children. It is their natural state. A healthy parent understands that seeking comfort, clinging, or asking for help is a sign of trust, not weakness. Responding with warmth reinforces a sense of safety and teaches the child that vulnerability is allowed. Over time, this secure foundation enables genuine independence, not forced self-reliance born from fear. When parents reject dependence, they often push children toward premature independence. Emotional needs may be framed as burdens. The child is encouraged to be strong, brave, or quiet rather than supported. This can create adults who appear highly capable on the surface, yet feel deeply uncomfortable relying on others. They may crave connection while fearing it at the same time. If your parents allowed you to lean on them without shame, they passed one of the most critical tests of caregiving. The sixth principle is showing humanity without losing authority. A healthy parent does not perform perfection. They allow their child to see small mistakes, ordinary flaws, and moments of humility. This teaches the child that being human is safe. When a parent can admit error or laugh at themselves, the child learns that mistakes are survivable. Failure does not equal collapse. When parents present themselves as flawless, emotionally rigid, or endlessly competent, they create an unspoken pressure. The child feels constantly evaluated and expected to meet an impossible standard. Adults raised in these environments often become chronic overachievers or harsh self-critics. They learned early that softness was not allowed. If your parents showed you their humanity without making you responsible for their emotional weight, they provided a rare and powerful balance. The seventh principle is providing calm predictability. Children do not need constant stimulation. They need emotional consistency. A healthy parent creates an environment where reactions are mostly predictable, boundaries are clear, and presence is reliable. This predictability becomes the blueprint for safety that the child carries into adulthood. It teaches them that the world is not chaotic by default and that relationships do not require constant alertness. When predictability is absent, children often become hyper-aware of shifts in mood, tone, and energy. They learn to scan constantly for danger. This vigilance can persist into adulthood as anxiety, emotional instability, or difficulty relaxing even in safe spaces. If your parents maintained emotional steadiness rather than volatility, They gave you one of the most stabilizing gifts a child can receive. The eighth principle is loving without demanding a return. Healthy parents offer love without expecting emotional repayment. They do not use their child as a confidant, therapist, emotional regulator, or source of validation. Their emotional needs are handled through adult relationships, not passed down. This allows the child to experience love as safe, not conditional. When this boundary is crossed, the child becomes responsible for the parent's emotional well-being. They learn that love must be earned through caretaking, silence, or self-sacrifice. Adults raised this way often struggle to express needs, set boundaries, or avoid unhealthy relationships. If your parents allowed you to simply be a child rather than turning you into their emotional support, they succeeded in one of the most defining aspects of healthy parenting. These 8 principles form the core of this reflection. Your childhood did not need to include all of them for you to survive. But the more that we're missing, the more your adult struggles begin to make sense. Recognizing where your parents succeeded and where they fell short is not betrayal. It is clarity, and clarity is the beginning of self-understanding. Once you see the truth, you are no longer unconsciously shaped by a past you never chose. Now it's your turn. Were your parents anything like this, or were they far from it? Share your experience in the comments.